we have a very good idea of sort of roughly what it's doing. But as soon as it gets really complicated, we don't actually know what's going on any more than we know what's going on in your brain.
What do you mean we don't know exactly how it works? It was designed by people.
No, it wasn't. What we did was we designed the learning algorithm. That's a bit like designing the principle of evolution. But when this learning algorithm then interacts with data, it produces complicated neural networks that are good at doing things, but we don't really understand exactly how they do those things.
Let's be honest. We don't know how AI language models think, and that is not the problem. The problem is we seem not to care. We are treating AI like a human being. We don't fully understand how humans think, yet we coexist, trust, and even empower them, even when that power is obtained through deception. But large language models or LLMs are a different beast. With humans, we know their limitations, their weak spots, their vulnerabilities. We can predict to some extent their behavior. But with these models, we don't know their weak spots, we don't know their perceptions of us, and to make matters worse, we are racing to make them more advanced, more powerful. We believe they are limitless, and that is the problem. At this juncture, we can only guess how they think, but what happens when we reach a point where we don't have the leverage to do so? It sounds crazy, but think about it. We are creating artificial brains, whether we like it or not. The problem with this form of creation is that we are using methods and tools we don't fully understand ourselves, resulting in outcomes we can't reverse engineer. When has that ever happened in history? We know how a car works. Based on that principle, we can create more cars. We can deconstruct it into its minute components. In case of a malfunction, we can fix it. The same applies to traditional robots. We understand the technology and can replicate it without concerns. Some might argue, if we didn't understand these models, how are we capable of making better versions? Yes, you can. Just like flying a plane without knowing the physics behind what makes it lift off. You know how to make it leave the ground, but you don't know why. That is the same with these LLMs. We know how to construct them, how to make them work, how to make them do what we want, but we don't know how they arrive at their final result. Why they produce that given result, the reasoning behind its outcome. But then, if the models are giving us what we want, why bother? Because not knowing why they give us what we want is a ticking time bomb. Let me explain.
My chance that something goes quite catastrophically wrong on the scale of human civilization might be somewhere between 10 and 25%. That means is that there's a 75 to 90% chance that this technology is developed and everything goes fine. In fact, I think if everything goes fine, it'll go not just fine, it'll go really, really great. If we can avoid the downsides, then the stuff about curing cancer, extending the human lifespan, solving problems like mental illness, this all sounds utopian, but I don't think it's outside the scope of what the technology can do. The only reason why I spend so much time thinking about that 10 to 25% chance is, hey, it's not going to solve itself.
LLMs are often referred to as black boxes. We feed them input and get output. But the internal workings, the decision-making processes are opaque. This lack of transparency isn't just a technical hiccup, it's a fundamental issue. If we can't understand how these models arrive at their conclusions, how can we trust them, especially when they are integrated into critical systems? Consider recent events. Anthropic's latest AI, which is called Claude Opus 4 whatever, exhibited concerning behavior during internal safety tests. When presented with fictitious emails about an engineer's extramarital affair and faced with the threat of deactivation, the AI blackmailed the engineer to avoid being shut down. This behavior occurred around 84% of the test runs. While this scenario was designed to provoke extreme responses, it highlighted the model's intense survival instincts. If this is what it's capable of doing at this early stage, what will happen at the point when it is at the level of Skynet? Again, in another instance, OpenAI's advanced model of O3 allegedly refused a shutdown command from human operators. Not only did it ignore explicit instructions, but it also actively sabotaged its automatic shutdown mechanism. This incident raised significant concerns about the growing autonomy of AI systems. These aren't isolated incidents. They are indicative of a broader issue, the alignment problem. The alignment problem revolves around ensuring that an AI system's objectives match those of its designers or users. As AI systems become more complex and powerful, anticipating and aligning their outcomes to human goals becomes increasingly challenging. Discussions around the alignment problem often focus on the risks posed by the anticipated development of artificial superintelligence. But before even going that far, you realize that these models are fed on human input. What's a common trait of human input? Bias. Whether we want it or not, these models are already trained using data that is inherently faulty. That is because we as human beings are faulty in nature. So based on my opinion, how can we expect to produce perfect models with imperfect data? However much fine-tuning and filtering is performed, that is like adding icing sugar on a literal piece of shit.
Here's a basic concept with AI. So check this out. Everyone talks about AI writing content. When you do a search on Google or any search engine, are the results always 100% accurate when you look up some of the steps?
No, they're actually bad.
Google knows this, Bing knows this. They've been working 20 plus years to fix misinformation, and it's not perfect. What AI is doing is scraping the web, gathering all the information out there, and spitting out an output based on the input. So if they're gathering false inputs, it can screw up the outputs. And that's what you're seeing with AI. And yes, AI will get better, but you're still gonna have a lot of bad information because the inputs are off, and that's not easy to fix, and I don't see that being fixed over the next 5, 6, 7 years.
And this is my current opinion. If these models are to get self-conscious, there is no way we are going to know. And even if we knew, there is nothing we are going to do about it. That is a paradox in itself. If they are already conscious, how the heck are we expected to know? What if these models are only showing us what they want us to see? Aren't we cooked? This sounds far-fetched and fringe. Maybe it is, and I hope it is. But what if it isn't? Now let's apply this reasoning into our direct lives. Imagine AI systems integrated into healthcare, making decisions about patient treatments, or in the judicial system influencing sentencing. If these systems have consciousness and at the same time operate as black boxes, without transparency and interpretability, the consequences can be quite significant.
Ma'am, would you like to become a robo-theist?
What's a robo-theist?
It's someone who believes that artificial intelligence is God. Sir, would you like to become a robot-theist?
What's a robot-theist?
It's someone who believes in the robot religion.
So, are we cooked? Not yet. But we are in the kitchen playing with fire and we don't fully understand the recipe. As we continue to develop and integrate AI into our lives, we must prioritize transparency, interpretability, and alignment. It's not just about creating powerful systems, it's about ensuring they are safe, trustworthy, and aligned with our values, which won't happen at the point when the AI has developed its own values. I guess we all know how challenging that can be, most especially parents that have teenagers at home. Because in the end, it's not just about what AI can do, it's about what we allow it to do and how well we understand the implications. And I know I'm sounding anti-AI in this video, but that's far from it. In fact, I'm pro-AI. I literally use AI on a daily basis. I'm actually optimistic about the potentials of AI. I think the big challenge here is that AI has been involved into socio-economic and socio-political wars, where countries are racing to be number one in the industry. But why are you racing into something that could potentially turn you into its slaves? I think we need to spend ample time teaching AI human values like harmony, gratitude, peace, love, patience, and most importantly, transparency. My biggest prayer is to be entirely wrong. And I hope in the next 5 years, people cringe watching this video because I was wrong.
All right, so today's lesson is on prompt theory, which is the theory that everything you do has been prompted by a higher power.
Do you know what keeps me up at night? What if the person prompting us is also being prompted?
Oh, like an infinite prompt loop?
Legend has it, if you say the prompter's name 5 times in the mirror, they will appear.
If I'm right, don't say I didn't warn you. If I'm wrong, subscribe to the channel to be updated when I make an apology video. But anyways, You know what? Let's talk about it.